The way we care for our skin is changing, especially for teens and young adults navigating school, sports, social lives, and the pressure of constantly being on camera. Acne is still one of the most common medical conditions in the world, yet access to real expert help can feel confusing, expensive, and out of reach. Today, I'm joined by the mother-daughter team who are reimagining what acne care can look like. Dr. Amy Wechsler is one of the few physicians in the United States who is board certified in both dermatology and psychiatry. Over more than 2 decades in practice, she has become well known for her work at the intersection of stress, emotional well-being, and skin health, and for helping thousands of patients feel more confident in their skin. She's a published author and advisor to Chanel Skincare and recently went back to school to earn her MBA at Columbia. Her daughter and co-founder Zoe Wechsler grew up witnessing the emotional toll acne can have on teens and young adults. Together, they launched Spotless, a modern walk-in acne clinic designed to make expert care fast, accessible, and judgment-free. I've personally been a client at Spotless and had an amazing experience. Spotless has recently been featured on The Today Show, The Drew Barrymore Show, Forbes, Vogue, and many other major media outlets. So I am thrilled to have Amy and Zoe on the BizEmpress podcast. Thank you both for being here today.
Thank you, Avery. That was such a good intro. I loved it.
Thanks for having us.
Of course. Okay, so Zoe, I would love to start with you. Growing up around your mom's work, when did you first notice the need for something like Spotless?
So we've been thinking about Spotless for a really long time. It's come up at least over a year now, I guess. I'm used to saying that, but now it's December. So it's definitely like at least a year and a half we've been talking about the idea. My mom was at business school. Spotless really the core of it was born. And we at first thought it would be a pimple shot bar and then very quickly realized that if we're going to have a pimple shot bar, we're going to have patients coming who think they need a pimple shot, but they don't. And we don't want to turn people away who have acne. So it very quickly became an all acne all the time idea. And yeah, we've been open now 3 weeks. And then we've just been kind of snowballing since then to get to this place where we're at now. But yeah, so about like a year and a half.
Okay, so Amy, you are board certified in both dermatology and psychiatry. How does that dual training shape the way that you think about acne and the emotional side of skin health?
So, when I was doing psychiatry and child psychiatry, I missed the physical side of medicine, of taking care of that part of my patient's life. Mm-hmm. And I took a little time to figure out what I could combine with the psychiatry that made the most sense. And the skin being the most external organ, but formed from the same layer of cells embryologically as the brain and the mind. And knowing there were so many interconnections and remembering how I felt as a teenager with acne, how bad that made me feel. So I started meeting with different dermatologists and decided to go back and train in dermatology. And I'm still learning from patients the connections. So there are sort of the obvious ones that stress causes so many things. And it's been proven for years that increase in stress increases pimple counts, increases acne. Mm-hmm. That study was first done on the University of Michigan's campus many years ago. They hired grad students to count pimples during midterms and finals and also during like the regular part of the semester. And the pimple counts went up, 2 to 4 times. And so there's just so many connections, both in a negative way, but also in a positive way. So when the stress goes away, your skin will clear up. And stress can flare up all sorts of skin disorders. Eczema, psoriasis can prematurely age the skin. But when we're just talking about acne, like for sure, it has a big impact.
And so what did that career path look like for you? Did you start with dermatology and then go to psychiatry? Or?
I started with psychiatry. So I did I did a year of emergency medicine, and then I went back and switched to psych. And I did adult psychiatry, and then I loved working with kids. And so then I did what's called a fellowship, so which is an extra 2 years of training in child and adolescent psychiatry. And then I worked for 2 years, and then I went back and did a dermatology residency. So I ended up doing 8 years of what's called postgraduate training after medical school.
Awesome. So for people listening who haven't visited Spotless yet, how would you describe what makes the experience feel so different from a traditional dermatologist office?
So the whole idea of Spotless was we want to take care of only acne, and we want to do it in a way that's new, in a way that people feel they can approach us, that they feel like we're not exclusive, and that they feel comfortable. Because a lot of people are scared of the doctor, they don't feel comfortable, it's a very sterile environment, and if you even get in, but see a dermatologist, you can have a really long wait time, even if it's in your insurance. If it's not, you still have to wait a really long time, and you have this pimple today and you have to handle it. So that's how we approached it, as that Spotless is for everybody with acne, and it's still, run by medical professionals, trained by mom. We have nurse practitioners and a physician's assistant here. But it's a little bit more fun, a little bit more inviting, but still seeming very professional and medical and clean. But it's not a sterile white box that's going to make you feel uncomfortable.
And I can confirm I've been there. It's a very welcoming space.
Thank you.
So, Zoe, entrepreneurship at a young age can, I'm sure, feel very intimidating. What surprised you the most about stepping into this founder role, and what have you learned about leading a team?
Okay. Love that question. And it's something that I've been thinking about and learning about myself a lot this year. So I left my previous full-time job in April. So since April, it's just been all Spotless, go, go, go. And I really felt such a difference in myself from April until we opened in November. I'm feeling a lot more confident, a lot less second guessing myself in decisions. And it doesn't mean we have an amazing team that we've built. And so always asking for help, always everything is collaborative, which is so much fun. But I was really worried and I think intimidated by the fact that I'm really young and I'm not trained in medicine. And so that people weren't going to take me seriously. But I just really quickly learned to just present myself in a way of I know all about Spotless, and I'm not saying there's nothing more for me to learn, but I know what's going on. I've done the research. And so that has helped me not worry so much about people not taking me seriously just because I'm young and I'm not a doctor.
Yeah, that is so cool to hear as a young girl.
And especially as a woman, especially in construction, we were building from the ground up and everybody was a man. And so we were introduced to this amazing construction manager, Madison, who is a woman and has been building spaces since she was in her 20s. And she's built 40 soul cycles in her life. Now she's still in her 30s. She's super young, but she has taught me so much, and we became partners in the build and the construction. And now I feel so much more confident, but just following her lead helped me a lot, learn how to just handle situations and see how things are presented to you differently because they're women and not, and just learning about that.
That's awesome. So, Amy, you've written and spoken extensively about the mind-skin connection. If you had to explain it simply to a stressed-out teen or college student, what's the one thing you'd want them to understand?
For stressed-out teens, I want them to know, first of all, I want them to know that their acne is not their fault.
Okay.
Even if they're popping their pimples, which can make it a little bit worse, it's not causing the acne, right? Even if they're smearing on tons of makeup and not washing it off, which I want them to, it's not causing it from the beginning, right? It could be making it a little bit worse. And that during really stressful periods of time, acne gets worse. It just does. And so just to think about how to take care of themselves a little bit better. For teenagers, I try to start with how much sleep do you get? Because sleep is when we heal. And teenagers need more sleep than older adults like me. So you guys need 8 to 9 hours of sleep a night. And it's pretty rare to get that during the week when you're in school and when most of your schools start at 8 in the morning, which is a bad idea because teenagers' sleep cycles do naturally shift to staying up later and needing to sleep later. So there's nothing we can do about changing school start times and all of that stuff, but just some practical tips and tricks about how do we get you a half an hour more sleep a night during the school week? And sometimes it's about managing the phone and all the distractions of life. And sometimes it's just, okay, well, guess what? School's so hard and I've got all these other things to do. I'm not going to be able to get all the sleep I need during the week, and I'll get some extra on the weekend. And okay, how do we treat your acne? But I think feeling like they've got some control about things, because you just feel kind of out of control. You're being told what to do and where to be all the time by teachers, by coaches, by parents, and it's okay, how do I control what's going on with me? So helping to give a simple, straightforward skincare routine that's not a million steps and confusing. Giving them, prescription creams and or pills that will help without giving, annoying side effects, and managing the potential side effects, and also managing expectations, because the problem with acne is that there's no overnight sensation in curing it, but it can always get better. I can always make someone better. We can always make someone better as Spotless. Yes, if someone has a giant pimple and they get a shot, tomorrow it'll be a lot better. That is awesome. But in terms of overall acne, it takes 6 to 8 weeks for everything to start working. And I think what happens a lot with teens is they're not told that. And if you're using something for a month, that feels like a long time.
Yeah.
And if you expect to get better, you'll get frustrated and you'll throw it out and you'll think this thing stinks and they don't know what they're talking about and this is hopeless for me. It's all about like hanging in there and working with whoever is taking care of you together, like as a team. Like I always say, I'm going to make you better. We're going to work together, but it's not going to be tomorrow. The next 2 to 3 months are going to get a lot better. And between now and then, let's talk about what we can do to help.
Yeah, thank you for sharing. It's very helpful, especially coming from someone who doesn't get a lot of sleep. So you designed Spotless to be accessible with walk-ins, extended hours, clear pricing, and a welcoming environment. Why was that so important to each of you, and what choices did you make intentionally to support that mission?
So at Spotless, we're trying to hit all the pain points of why someone might not be able to come see me in my office. So we just sat there and thought like, okay, what are the kind of barriers to entry to come see me or any dermatologist? One, we're usually open only approximately 9 to 5 Monday through Friday, which is exactly when young people are in school or at work and then at rehearsal or at practice, and it's really hard to get in. And so some people just never get in because they practically can't come. And so like, okay, we need extended hours. We're open right now 2 mornings a week. We're open till 8 every night, Monday through Friday, and then we're open on Saturdays. I don't know a dermatologist who's open on Saturdays. There's probably a couple, but people always ask me, are you open on Saturdays? And I'm not, but we just wanted to get rid of that, like, and that you can walk in because no one can walk into my office. You can't walk into a dermatology office because the schedule is booked and someone who's walking in just, kind of disrupts the flow. But here we've got more than one clinician taking care of patients and we haven't completely figured out the flow, or we're going to leave one person for walk-ins and the rest for appointments. Like we're just seeing how that all works out. But so the extended hours, you can just walk in or you can make a same day appointment or book it online. And then we wanted to get rid of those barriers that we was talking about, like that might embarrass or intimidate someone. Like people with acne, unfortunately, feel embarrassed sometimes and self-conscious about even going into a doctor's office and asking for help because they just don't want to kind of expose themselves and they're feeling down about themselves. So a lot of people with acne are anxious or feel sad or depressed. And so we wanted like a cool environment that's got music and rounded edges, nothing hard or sharp. And we offer, water and chocolate. Of course, we're trying to dispel the myths about acne, like that chocolate causes acne, because it does not. And just like it smells good and it sounds good. And the people who work here are just like very warm and inviting, and hospitality is really important to us. We want the patient's experience from like the moment they walk in to the moment they leave to be one that's relaxing and happy. And what we've been noticing is that some people walk in like pretty anxious and they're avoiding eye contact and they're nervous, but they leave smiling and making eye contact and they're just seem a little puffed up like, oh, I feel hope now. And that is our whole plan for that. We're also, dermatologists are pretty expensive. So our price point is lower and we think we're priced well. So, we're just figuring out all that stuff. Did I leave anything else out?
You really killed that one.
That's awesome. I mean, you guys know I came in the other week with a friend and we had that exact reaction that you're just describing. It was so fun. I mean, from the design down to the chocolate at the end, it was an amazing experience.
I'm glad you liked it.
So I noticed this isn't the first time that you guys have worked together. I found the Embarrassing You podcast. I was just wondering if you could speak on that a little bit and what it's like working together as mother and daughter, what you've learned about each other through this process, and how you keep the communication healthy.
So early in the pandemic, Zoe was stuck at home during college on the couch and, fall of 2020. And we had a passion project, which was our podcast. Seemed like a lot of people were doing podcasts. Yeah. And it was called Am I Embarrassing You? And Zoe and I have, for a really long time, been really good about talking about difficult to talk about topics between parents and kids, moms and daughters. And nothing's off limits for me ever. I don't know if it's because I'm a doctor or what. And so we thought, let's talk about these topics. Let's model that kind of like mom-daughter communication. And we had some fun guests, and Zoe learned all the production stuff. I literally just had to show up.
I always said that she was the talent, and that was kind of the dynamic of the podcast.
But the best part of it was working together. We had so much fun. And then I was teasing Zoe and Jaden, like, okay, if you guys aren't, none of you, neither of you is going back to med school, I'll go to business school and figure out how we can create a real business together, not just a passion project. So that's what I did.
It was really fun and it was really cute, but it was a moment in time, which is my really nice way of saying that it's embarrassing. But it taught us that we needed to work together. So
Yes.
grateful.
That's so awesome. So I know you spoke on this a little bit before, but many teens struggle with confidence because of acne. What are the top 2 or 3 things that you want them to know, whether they're just starting to break out or feel like they've tried everything?
I would say my number one thing, and we sell a lot of products at Spotless for this reason, is make sure you're buying non-comedogenic skincare. If something doesn't say on the box or the product itself non-comedogenic, that means it is comedogenic and it will probably break you out. That means that the company hasn't done the testing for comedogenicity. So non-comedogenic means it won't clog your pores. So you have to make sure about that. That's like the number one thing.
It can say oil-free as a synonym. That's good enough. But in the U.S., like you would think that face products would have to be tested to make sure they don't break people up, but you don't have to. It's an extra test to add on when you're creating product.
Yeah. Like for example, we sell at Spotless a Sophie Pavitt facial mist because facial mists are great. And in my research this past year, that's the only non-comedogenic facial mist on the market. If you're spraying on your face all day long, because you keep it in your car, you keep it in your bag, because it feels so good, it's cooling, it's great, and it's not non-comedogenic, you put it on your face all day. So that's a good example, I think, of that. That's like what I would say as the non-doctor in this family. You have one tip.
One tip for teens? I think it's okay to try over-the-counter acne products to try to treat your pimples and acne for a short period of time. Like, I think it's okay to go to the drugstore and get Differin, for example, with 0.1 Differin gel, which used to be prescription, now it's over the counter, and follow the directions and try it for, give it 2 months. And you can add maybe a salicylic acid wash. But I think too often teens get frustrated quickly, which I understand, and they'll go and end up using like 6 or 7 products. And many of them are very drying and irritating, actually end up making the acne worse, which is just horrible. And then they just kind of don't know what to do. And then they're throwing makeup on it to cover it. I think maximum 2 over-the-counter products, give it 6 to 8 weeks. And if it doesn't work, I think it's okay to ask a parent for help. Say, hey, I'm trying these over-the-counter things. Is there someone you could take me to who's an expert in acne to help, because I'm just not getting better and I feel bad about it or frustrated about it, instead of just keep loading on more and more products, because a lot of people do that. And so before Spotless, I would have said, come see me in the office. And now I'm just come into Spotless. It's faster, it's easier, it's more efficient. And we plan on opening more Spotless locations to make it even more convenient.
Yeah, and especially with social media, I mean, teens and young people see all this stuff and maybe they want to go to Sephora and try out things that may not be so great for them.
And there's so many, quote unquote, experts online who just say stuff. And because it's online, you don't really credential them, you don't really check them out. And so you might listen to them and buy something and you wasted money on something, one, and then also you gave yourself a rash or you're allergic to something and you didn't really look into it because you just trusted someone. So just for product wise, simple is always better. And those 2 beautiful words, non-comedogenic, will take you very far.
I think it's one word because it's hyphenated. Oh, it's the weirdest word.
Ignore me.
It's annoying her.
Okay, so you guys are both strong role models in different ways. One a leading physician and one a young founder. What advice would each of you give to girls and young women who dream of building something meaningful but don't know where to begin?
We have friends who are entrepreneurs and who just wrote a book about it. And they always say, just start. I think there's a lot of worrying and thinking and can I do this? If you have an idea, try it out. It might not work. It might sort of fail, but you'll learn in the process. I think people get paralyzed about what to do. How do I start it? You can just try it. Just start it. Talk to as many people as you think you need to gather information and just start it. The other thing is if you want to do something, I think now you'll be able to find a mentor or a role model much easier. I think than when I was growing up, there weren't that. I don't think I had any women physician role models when I was a kid, but I was lucky because my dad especially kind of just taught my sister and I whatever you want to do, just go for it, And so now when young people find me in high school, in college, in med school, and they want my advice or they want my support or they just want to bounce ideas off me, I always say yes, because I think it's so important to be there for like the next group of kids and young people coming through.
Yeah.
And I think what is kind of sad is I've heard some doctors kind of dissuading young people from going into medicine because they have like they're kind of burnt out, or they're working in managed care or whatever it is, they're not happy with their jobs. I think there's nothing better. Like, it is such a privilege to be able to take care of people for a living. It just is. It still is. Like, I'm doing this for over 20 years and I still love what I do. Because it doesn't really feel like a job. Of course, there's the like job aspect to it, right? I've got my own private practice. I have to deal with that. But meeting people every day, listening to them, people sharing with you like their most intimate thoughts, feelings, vulnerabilities, parts of their body, like all that stuff is a real privilege, and trying to help them it's awesome. So I just say, like, if you're interested, go for it. And if you want to talk to me, call me.
That's so cool. I mean, you were looking for this role model. Now you get to be that role model for other girls.
It's the best. Mom's a role model for all my friends, and it's really it's the best. I guess mine would be, I think I just learned this through Spotless. It's like, keep your focus as tight as you can. Like, we're really, and I know it applies to us, we're really focused on doing doing the best at what we do and keeping it acne and keeping ourselves in our lane. But I do think, like, I know people say find your niche, but just like keeping your focus and not becoming too broad. You can always expand, but you can't really go back down and like decrease the amount of things you do or the amount of things you offer, the amount of products you make. You can always add more, but I think doing too many at once or whatever you do can just be distracting and just make things harder when you're starting.
It has been so fun to speak with both of you today. Thank you, Amy and Zoe, for sharing your insights and your vision. The work you're doing together at Spotless is truly inspiring. I know everyone listening has gained so much from this conversation. Thank you again for joining me.
Avery, thanks for having us.
It seriously made my whole day. I love talking to you. Thank you. It was so sweet. I love this.
Thank you again to Dr. Amy and Zoe Wechsler. If you would like to learn more about Spotless, please visit the company's website at spotlessclinics.com and follow Spotless on Instagram and TikTok at Spotless Clinics. The first location is at 1053 Lexington Avenue on the Upper East Side of New York City, with more to come in the future. Thanks for watching and supporting female entrepreneurs.